I want to showcase how to build Defender Veterans heroes in a Total War Saga Troy. So when we're building this hero, the best way I can summarize him is a aggro hero that you just send into a buckload of units while your missiles inflict a lot of damage on the enemy, and you also keep melee units that are more so for melee defense. So think of it like in Three Kingdoms, where you build a lot of like a staunch line of spears and then missile units behind, and you just shoot down the enemy like crazy, except you got this crazy bad boy that has some very insane skills that you can select. So if we look at his overall stat line, he does have 75% missile block chance with 98 armor at this moment. Note that he's only rank 13, the highest rank that you can recruit heroes in the game. So not all skills are selected, but I can try to say which ones I would select based upon the ones that I've selected so far, you know, which upgrades I would want. So given that the focus is that I want him to aggro as much as possible and boost up missile units, let's go here. So in terms of the skills, the first thing he has is something called the War God's Call. So the War God's Call, basically when you select any unit that is not a hero and is not on a wall, boom, you can cause that unit to come to him. Now, when that unit comes to him, it's going to be engaged in combat with it. Now, how does this tie with his overall design? So it's based upon a couple of things. So at the very bottom here, he has an option to go for melee chariot or sunder armor. Note that War God's Call cannot be used if this hero is mounted. So you don't mount him on a chariot, you pick sunder armor, and then you also go for sunder shield. Given that you want to focus on having missile units, the unit that you do pull to War God's Call towards this guy, once the unit is engaged with him, look at these penalties, minus 30 armor and minus 75% to missile parry with shield, meaning that it would really lower the biggest benefits that two of the biggest benefits that a unit can have against missile units, letting your missiles inflict a lot of damage against a very high armor, high value unit that the enemy could have. So definitely this is the upgrade that I would go for the skill that I cannot select, given that I'm on rank 13. Now let's work my way down. At first glance, you would want to select Dread of Ares because it lowers morale, it lowers stamina, it gives more missile vulnerability for the unit that you select. Note that this only selects a single unit, but the thing about this is that it costs 50 rage, and that 50 rage is too much with the other two skills that I want to utilize with him to make him more into an aggro hero. So what I go for instead is Blood of Hercules, in order to get a very important thing here. The first thing you see here is, whoa, 50% more melee attack. And believe me, that's really good, especially if you have to send him into a 1v1 versus another hero. But what I really care about here is that when this skill is utilized, it provides rage when activated, which I will need for two skills where each of them cause 80 rage and 75 rage. Definitely want to get as much rage as I can from secondary skills to use the two primary skills I want to go for. In terms of the upgrade, I would go for the cooldown reduction, so it goes from 81 seconds to 54, so I can keep popping this over and over and over again as much as possible in order to then be able to get more rage every 54 seconds instead of every 81 seconds. Next, you can use them for recruitment purposes if you want to, but if you see here, if you don't go for recruitment, you actually boost missile unit ammunition and missile resistance of all units, and then you can go for lowering reload skill for missile units. I primarily go for this when it's not a unit with high AP missile damage, which is what the other benefit really gives. So I would say go for the Formation Specialist attack speed so that unit can shoot faster. If the unit has way too fast reload speed, like 2 seconds or less, then you can definitely go for this instead, and you'll get a missile resistance bonus for shielded infantry instead of a missile resistance bonus to just missile units. Depending on whatever you have in your army of missile units, go for whichever of these upgrades better suits you. Now, we can definitely make him do more DPS, but I want him to aggro more. So instead of giving him higher probability of hitting the enemy with more melee attack and then cause more damage, I want him to get more melee defense so the enemy is less probable to hit him over time, and therefore my skills can, potentially be used more since, I'll be alive long enough for the cooldown to end and I can reuse them. Next, I can use him for getting agents at max rank with alert, but the units that I utilize for max rank definitely, or the heroes that I use for max rank, I also want them to have the skill Wise and the one that also gives favor when garrisoned, and he doesn't have access to these things. So if you're in a bit of a crunch and you can't really recruit, heroes at really high rank, you know, for example, Defender, Protector, and Warlord Mentors are the key ones that give you all three of those skills, then you can go for this guy, recruit him at rank 5, and definitely by this point you can just get 5 of these guys to be able to get the agents for max at max rank in a province. Instead, you go for Collector to get more resources after battle. And then after that, I always go for Battle Captives Taken so I can get more replenishment after a battle. Extremely useful to go for this. Next, and this is where this is one of the 2 skills that I really want to focus on. I go for Pain Barrier to get 20% ward save for 45 seconds. Note that it has a 108-second cooldown and 75 rage cost. That's a lot of rage. So you definitely want to get as much rage as you can in any secondary abilities. Now, in terms of the upgrade, there's 2 key points here. There's a Pain Barrier heal and a Pain Barrier duration. Instead of costing or lasting 45 seconds, it doubles in time to 90 seconds. And that's a pretty big time difference of 45 seconds. Now, the other upgrade, Pain Barrier heal, gives you 1000 HP healed per second. So right now, after we finish selecting all the skills, we get to like 5k, maybe more so than that, 5k total HP for the hero. So 1k HP healed is 20% of the hero's HP back. Now that is really valuable. And I would say that going for this upgrade of 1000 hit points healed per second might be more relevant than getting this at twice the duration. I think this is up to debate. Maybe I'm seeing this incorrectly and probably duration is more valuable. It depends on how you look at it. In my opinion, I like more so the heal to get the extra 20% more hit points because I don't think that battles are going to last that long. And I can get some more self-heal with this, and then I'll let my missile units inflict a lot more damage, you know, over time. And if I get into a very big pickle, right, with this hero who's going to aggro and his HP gets very low, the ward save is not going to heal me back up. It's just going to prevent me from taking damage. So this will bring me back up and therefore be in a better situation and potentially last long enough to get this heal and then the heal from the Aristea that will help him get back up in HP. Next, Heroic Spirit is completely redundant to get in any hero. Do never go for Heroic Spirit because Unbreakable you acquire from having Athena at 600 favor or higher, and Heroic Spirit Fear that gives you fear to your hero is a waste because you can get that with Ares at 600 favor or higher. In this game, you can get all gods with 600 favor or higher by turn 52, is the highest I've done, fastest I've done it, across every single faction except Penny. So definitely this is not something that I would aim for because you can get all these bonuses and maintain them or here and there throughout the campaign. Bloodthirst, bam, this goes in combo with the tandem of getting rage as fast as possible. Bloodthirst lets you gain rage outside of combat. It's a very slow amount of rage, but it's something. And then the Bloodthirst battle, make sure that if you're outside of if you get into combat, you get more rage in the battle. Yeah, I kind of forgot that there's another skill that reduces or prevents you from losing the rage that you've built if you get out of combat, you know, or like makes a longer duration before you lose all that rage. This is not it. This is just one that boosts up how much rage you gain when in combat, therefore letting you get to the 75 you need for the skill and the 80 you need for the other skill that I'm going to touch upon later. Next, so I want to build a very defensive army because I'm going to have missile units. You can go for more melee attack if you want to. I prefer to go for more melee defense because the missile units will benefit from higher melee defense as well if anybody flanks to them. And also I can therefore give my front line of very sturdy heavy units more melee defense so they can hold the line more while the missile units inflict a lot more damage. So I prefer to go for Prayer to Athena. Now, the next one, I prefer to go to Armored by Hephaestus to decrease the amount of damage that he takes from non-AP damage, and then after that even more melee defense. And then also going back to Prayer of Athena, I would definitely go for more melee defense during siege battles unless you get a front line of sword units, or you have a lot of sword units where you would benefit more so from the Prayer to Athena sword. Usually I go for the siege because I don't have a lot of sword units in many of the factions, and siege battles is where the auto resolve is really not in your favor. So this will definitely help you by having 5%, not, or you know, this one will give you 8% maybe across what, 8 sword units, but this will give you 5% across all 20 units in the army in a siege battle, which I think is more valuable overall. Armor by Hephaestus, already talked about it. Definitely go for more melee defense upgrade. And then continuing here, if you want to use him for recruitment purposes with the recruit rank skill that I mentioned before, then go for Inspirational Leader. But since he's going to be in combat and moving throughout the map, I go for Disciplinarian to reduce how much attrition he takes, which is actually a waste. It's very hard for you if you know how to move across the ocean to take any attrition. I don't really worry too much about this, but you can gain more income from raiding. And then after that, we want this army to have a lot of replenishment, so the missile units have as much HP as possible and therefore inflict as much damage as possible on the enemy. So we can get more money by being on raid stands across all the across the map, and also actually get more casualty replenishment, which is really good. And then you can also go for the campaign movement and attrition reduction. Raiding no longer incurs movement penalties, which is good as well, but this army is going to be extremely strong, so even if the enemy engages you, I don't worry too much about having lowered movement, even though that's extremely valuable. I really want this army to to just have as much casualty replenishment as possible. After that, I want to keep boosting up my ranged units. So I go for follower of Artemis, and then if I have bow units, I get this one. If I have javelin units, I get the javelin upgrade. If I were to build a more offensive front line, then if I were to pick Prayer to Ares to boost up melee attack of all units instead of Prayer of Athena, then I might therefore go for Disciple of Ares to get more charge bonus for my units. But this overall design gives me 2 skills that boost up missile units and 1 that boosts up melee defense, which I think is more so valuable combination than going offensive with this hero or an army for this hero. Then the second skill that I've been talking about, this one that costs 80 rage. So Heraclean Resolve gives him Unbreakable and Immortal. So say he gets in a pickle, his HP is very low, bam, you pop this and he's not gonna die. And having 2 skills where one costs 75 rage and the other costs 80 rage means that you're gonna get to Aristia very fast, especially if you can build the rage you need in a fast manner. And aside from that, for the upgrade, there's the duration one, right, that makes it last 40 seconds. I would more so just go for the upgrade that gives you 1000 more HP. So now you have 2 skills that give you a total of 2k HP, which is crazy. And with that, boom, get this, boom, boom, boom. And your missile unit should be able to inflict so much damage as this guy keeps replenishing that you should be able to aggro more and more and more. And since battles don't really tend to last that long in the late game, you will at least prevent the hero from getting into a dangerous situation where he might die, and he'll be able to aggro for the short duration of some battles. And then finally, this one was a bit of a hard one to select. I don't usually go for sacking or raising settlements, even though it's a very valuable strategy, because I like to paint the map, so I like to acquire settlements and as high health as possible. If you're someone that does not go for map painting and you just go for the objectives, then of course sacking is a great way to get a lot of resources as you sack and raise your way throughout the map. So this Asclepian's, or however you say that, method gives you more casualty replenishment, which I think is extremely valuable. And I would go for allied territory for more casualty replenishment in my own territory. If you are going for getting as much as you can from settlement sacking and raising, I would therefore go for the spoiler. And then after that, because influence is extremely valuable to go for, I would say that going for this spoiler, damage, and influence is really valuable if, and that's only if, you're gonna be raising. If you're not gonna be raising, I would say that you should go for 15% more casualty replenishment when sacking, because this is a huge buff to overall casualty replenishment. So say you have this army with a secondary army of a single hero, this army sacks, right? You put this guy in raid stance, so he gives the extra casualty replenishment from disciplinarian, that's 7%, and then from sacking you get 15%. That means in that turn you're gonna have 22% extra replenishment because you sacked and then you got into raid stance, and you can use that secondary hero to just acquire the settlement. Sure, there'll be some public order penalties because you're raiding, but that's okay. You can manage it, especially as you keep getting Zeus and Aphrodite favor higher and your public order does not become an issue anymore in the campaign. So I believe that's everything for the 7 Defender Veterans and how I would pick his overall skill selection. And then in terms of equipment, as you keep maxing out the gods, you have a higher chance of acquiring cult idol items. If you know, one that I put across every single hero is Cult Idol Statue of Aphrodite to get 10% more battle captives taken. That's 30% total battle captives taken. Then, since I tend to have archer units across most factions, I put Apollo and Artemis. If I weren't to use these, I would select Zeus that boost up javelin units. Where the hell is it? Zeus here, that boosts up missile damage and AP missile damage of javelin units for the Artemis one. And then for the Apollo one, I would replace it with Athena, because if I have a front line, they would tend to be melee defense, or sorry, spear units. So I'm already boosting up melee defense from the Prayer to Athena skill. Why not tack up more melee defense from the Cult Idol Statue of Athena to get even more melee defense for your frontline units? Continuing, I like to make sure I boost up AP damage as much as possible. So Cult Idol Statue of Hephaestus is extremely valuable to get, giving you 10% more AP damage of all melee units. And then finally, I always like to go for Hera on my heroes to boost up growth by 50. Really good. Now, I was like, okay, what items do I pick for this like hero build showcase? So I tried to go for things you could find on the map normally, and like even if it's uncommon, but not like rare items. I really want to boost up his armor, melee defense, and other statistics as much as possible. From the items that I had access to, I noticed that I could get one that gives him good armor of +5. And then Celestian Arrow Dagger here gives you more melee attack. I think there are some that boost up melee defense, but I don't have any of these at this moment. So anyways, I believe that is it that I want to showcase here. Oh, wait, let me take a step back. There's something else I want to talk about. From the god effects, right? You want this hero to become an aggro hero? So if you have Aphrodite at 600 favor or higher, all heroes get 25% or more ward save. So you can make this guy take 25% less damage than he normally would, helping the overall build of him becoming a very aggro tank be way more effective overall. And you also get Unbreakable from Athena, and also the Fear. I don't have Ares at max favor per se. But anyways, yeah, those 2 favor less, I would get Fear on him. So that is basically all I wanted to showcase here for this hero. Definitely, you know, if you like this, leave a comment, you know, or leave a like. You know, if you have any discussions you want to have on how you would do this differently. So I really want to thank you for watching, and I sincerely hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye.